Guide your thinking is a second technique. And if you don't like that, here's a third. And this is what you've all been waiting for, so I'll cut to the chase. I know most, if not all of you in here know that I'm known in the business as a motivational hypnotist. Why in the world would I want to be hypnotized? Well, it turns out hypnosis is a very common state of mind, and it is one that is pure focus, absolute, perfect focus. The technical name for it is response attentiveness. The most common example of it is the everyday daydream. You ever see someone in the office? Totally focused, staring out into space, not really hearing what's going on around them, not really listening to anything. Mentally, their mind is, as they say, a million miles away, completely focused, maybe on the vacation they're about to take or some daydream that they have. Pure and effortless focus. You ever come out of your car at the end of the day, walk into your home, open the door, there's a member of your family in a trance? Ever see a kid on a video game? Total focus. Absolutely 100% of their attention effortlessly focused. Now, I say the word hypnosis, people get nervous. They're a little bit afraid of it because of what they've seen on movies or TV. Turns out the average person in this room is already spending about 70% of their waking day in a trance anyhow. I'm just going to show you how to put it to some good use tonight. And you think it's crazy, but it's really true. Wouldn't it be nice at the end of each day, if you wanted to, we could just shut it all down, stop the mind from going at 800 miles an hour, let the tension in your body go, and simply focus on a goal? Well, if you did that, if you were able to do that, you could repeatedly visualize an image and drive that image into your subconscious mind. You listen to successful people. Now, I admit that I'm biased, but I've come to some conclusions after doing this for 32 years. One is that virtually every successful, long-term successful person I've ever encountered is practicing some form of self-hypnosis. They don't call it that, but that's what they're doing. They don't say, I learned how to hypnotize myself 20 years ago, go into a hypnotic state 3 times. That's not the way they talk. They'll say, when I first started in this business, I'd really never sold a thing before, didn't have that much experience, didn't have a whole lot going for me, but I remember when I started with this business, I had a vision, I had a dream, I could see myself doing really good things in this business. I go to work every day driving a beat-up old car because it's all I could afford, but I used to cut out pictures of Mercedes, put them on the dashboard. There's the Mercedes out in the parking lot. Always knew I was going to be a Mercedes person. My spouse and I used to drive around successful people's neighborhoods. We used to fantasize about what kind of home we were going to build once we made it, once we got the money. See that big, beautiful house out there? We built that house in our head long before we broke ground on it. See, people hypnotize themselves all the time. Sometimes it's negative. I'm going to show you how to do it in a positive way. I'm going to show you how to hypnotize yourselves. And I'm going to do that by way of demonstration. In other words, in the next few moments, I'm going to bring a few of you up out of the audience and literally hypnotize you, show you in living color what this is really all about. Before I do that, I always have to make some promises so you understand what's going on. Here's promise number one. You do not have to come up here and do this if you don't want to. I'm going to do some tests that help me find the good subjects, and if I come out off this stage and invite you to join me up on stage in the next few minutes and you do not want to be hypnotized, please don't be shy. Just give me a hand signal or wave me on. I'll move on to someone else. I'm not going to drag you up here kicking and screaming, but if you do come up here, here's promise number two. You're not going to be humiliated. You're not going to do pole dancing or quacking like dogs or anything. This is Edward Jones, and I'm on a tight leash tonight. I had a list of things I'm not allowed to do tonight. but obviously, there's nothing going to be crazy or obscene or anything like that. Everything I do, by the way, carries with it a message. I don't hypnotize people just for the fun of it. I'm going to show you a series of hypnotic phenomena, and I'm going to do my best to describe to the rest of you what it is you're seeing and how what it is you're seeing is very, very similar to some things you do in business. You really can become your own worst enemy sometimes by setting up some limitations, by not being able to see the big picture, or by not being able to plow through obstacles. Just by way of survey, I know that I have spoken to this group a number of years before, but how many of you in this audience tonight have never actually seen someone hypnotized up close and personal? Can I see by a show of hands? At least half of you. Fasten your seatbelts. If you've not ever seen this, get ready, because it's an eye-opener at the very least. I have been doing this for 32 years now professionally, and quite honestly, it still amazes me. I still find myself often up here scratching my head saying, that's just incredible. How do they do that? Wait till you see what some of you folks are capable of. but no one, I promise, will be humiliated or embarrassed. Promise number 3, whoever does come up here, I can pretty well promise by the end of the presentation, you will be extremely relaxed. It's one of the side effects of the technique. For those of you who do not end up on stage, if you observe those who do end up here, you will see that I'm guiding them, and that's all I'm doing is guiding them into a state of mental as well as physical relaxation. And let's face it, some of you folks have not relaxed in years. Some of you go to bed worrying about things, wake up first thing, go back to worrying again. You run around all day gritting your teeth, curling your toes, tensing up your stomach muscles, popping antacids, taking headache pains, and Valium. The state of mind up here is total relaxation, which is why invariably people will come out of this state and they comment, I feel great. I feel like I just slept 10 solid hours, like I had a full body massage. One guy came up not too long ago, this is better than drugs, and it is. Although, of course, I would have no way of knowing, but it is a wonderful feeling, and it simply has to do with the technique of total relaxation. So, again, these are my 3 promises. Don't have to do this if you don't want to. If I identify you as a good subject and you don't want to be hypnotized, just let me know. Number 2, if you do come up here, I promise you will not be humiliated. Promise number 3, if you end up here, you're probably going to be real relaxed by the end of it. What I need to do next are find some good hypnotic subjects. Those of you who are familiar with the bell curve, and by the way, how many of you folks are familiar with the bell curve? Can I see by show of hands? You all should be since you make your living from it, but that's a totally different lecture. Nonetheless, the bell curve should not surprise you that in a random large group such as this, statistically, you would expect about 5 to 10% of you to be really good subjects right out of the gate. Typically, it's a numbers game. About 1 out of 10 people are extraordinary subjects the very first time you try to hypnotize them. About 68% of you, by definition, are going to be average subjects, and another 5 to 10% of you are going to be difficult, all the way up to about 2.14% who cannot be hypnotized for all intents and purposes. Now, if I had a choice, who do you think I would want up here as my subjects? Obviously, I'm going to be focusing on that 5 to 10%. Let me make a comment about that because I always get this question. Why are some people better than others? Why can some people just kind of dive into this state of mind and, I'm just getting average results from it? Well, I probably will not know any of the folks I bring up here, but if you interview the folks that end up here later this evening, you will probably discover that they have all been practicing some form of self-hypnosis, just not calling it that. Time and time again, when I get a great subject up here, I might ask them afterwards, have you ever been hypnotized? And they almost invariably say, not only have I never been hypnotized, I'd have bet the farm it was impossible to hypnotize me. No, I've never been hypnotized, but I used to wrestle in high school, and I had a way you could tune out pain. I'd get myself so focused before a match. And when you had me hypnotized, it was like I was back in that state of mind I used to put myself in when I was a wrestler. One person said I was a long-distance runner. I could get myself so focused I could run for miles, stay focused on the finish line. Afterwards, my legs hurt like crazy, but while I was running, it was just that finish line. It was kind of like when you had me up there, I was back doing that again. A guy not too long ago said, I had an imaginary friend till I was 15. Does that count? Good subject. Some of you don't realize it, but you've been hypnotizing yourselves for years. So yes, there is a practice effect. The reason I mention that is if you do not end up here, that doesn't mean you can't be hypnotized. It just means these folks have had a little bit more practice at it than you have. And if you like what you see tonight and would like to learn how to do it, it is not difficult to do. It only takes about 5 minutes a day. And one of the side effects of learning this technique is, again, you learn how to spend more and more time when you want to focused. So if you do find yourself sitting face-to-face with a client, you can learn to push all that other garbage out of your head and focus on that client's wants and needs. There really are practical applications to this technique. Although tonight, you're going to see a demonstration that if you've not ever seen one before, is probably going to be quite an eye-opener. All right, now, what I got to do is find some good